Rep the South Side whenever you pay with your White Sox debit card from Wintrust Community Banks and score perks like free ATMs, no monthly fees, and a $300 opening bonus. Pay with pride every time with Wintrust, Chicago's bank.
Hey everybody, it's Chuck Garfien. Welcome to the White Sox Podcast, brought to you as always by our great friends at Wintrust, Chicago's bank. Show your team pride with the White Sox debit card. Get yours at wintrust.com/Sox. Member FDIC, EHL lender. All right, special podcast for you today. With the regular season winding down, I sit down with the manager, first-time manager of the White Sox, Will Venable, to get his take on his first season in the hot seat with the White Sox. And he reveals a lot about what it's been like to manage this team. What's been the steepest learning curve for him as manager of the Sox. What it's like in that clubhouse, managing this team, how he judges success for this team. Inside some of the tough decisions he's had to make as manager, how he measures success, how he's grown as a manager, and what excites him about the future. Will Venable joining me on the White Sox Podcast. Here we go. All right, Will Venable, we are very close to the finish line of your first season as manager. Where are you right now, mentally, physically, emotionally? Because managing can take its toll on people, but how are you right now?
I'm as energized as I've been from day one, to be honest, and really just about our group and the way that these guys come to the ballpark every day, and they have energy, which gives me energy, and our staff is doing a great job. And, I know our record is what it is, but we have fun at the ballpark, and, it's fun to show up every day and go to work.
How have you grown as a manager this season?
A lot of ways, probably in every single way. You come in with an idea of what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, and quickly realize that all those are just philosophies and ideas, and then you have to go out and execute it and find a way to get your group to do what you think is best. And so, I've had to try different ways to do that, and had to make some mistakes along the way and learn from those, and trying to get it right for our group.
I mean, can I ask you what a mistake that you made that you're willing to share, like where you feel like, I could have done this better?
Yeah, there's like travel policy that for who can bring families on a plane or something like that, where you try and do the best thing for the group and realize that maybe some of these things that you've tried to put in place might alienate a certain group, like that, where we're trying to do the best thing to make sure that we can get our group through a day, through a road trip, through a season the right way, and there's just a lot of considerations that you have to take into account.
All right, so you played obviously in this game, you were a bench coach, and was there a time this season where you're in that hot seat and you're like, oh, this is what managing is all about? Like, this is what, you don't know it until you're in it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of those moments that happen every day. You realize with the media obligations, the things that you have to do, in-game stuff, when you in the past have not been responsible for certain things. Whether it's a move that you have to make, going to talk to umpires about rules or something that happened on the field. So there's just a bunch of stuff that kind of pops up that you realize is pretty unique to the role.
There's so much that goes into being a manager. What would you say is probably the steepest learning curve for you?
Yeah, I think it's really about the players, and obviously as a manager, it's my job to kind of set the tone for the group. It's just kind of been a great experience learning what that means on a daily basis and how I have to change from day to day. And I think I've learned a lot, and it's one of those things I continue to learn a little something every day.
One of the toughest things usually is for a manager is managing the bullpen. Bullpen ERA last year was 28th in the majors, now it's 17th, and you guys have had all sorts of players coming and going, and I've been really impressed with how you've handled it. How do you think you've handled the bullpen with all the pieces that go into it and trying to win games, especially when your offense wasn't doing so well?
Yeah, no, thanks. That's definitely a challenge. It's one of the things I think you talk to any manager, and certainly as I came to this job, that was, I got the heads up that's going to be one of the hardest things, and it has been challenging. But I think you look at our group of guys that we have down there, Matt Wise, the bullpen coach, who really sets the tone and is responsible for the culture down there. And then, the help that we have with, with Ethan, with Walker, Sean Rubin on the bench, and trying to really be thoughtful about the best spots to put these guys in, for their success and obviously the success of our team. So it's been a group effort, and obviously you also have to have players who come in and get the job done too, and they've been great as well. So it's a great challenge that we're all embracing and trying to find out ways to make it happen.
Yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts, just what it's like to be in your seat. So there's so much information that is at your disposal. There's so much going on in the game, and then you also want to watch the game and be in the moment. How much of a challenge is that for you? Because you have to react, and it's like a chess game. You got to see how things might unfold one inning down the road, 2 or 3, and also watch this game. And how do you handle all of that goes into it?
Well, you got to depend on your staff, and that's what they're there for, is to, to help us all through this and navigate a game. And so we spend time before the game planning about how we might use our players, bullpen-wise, position players on the bench, and then as the game goes on, you got support to help you out with some of the in-game moves, some of the thought process going into these moves, and then executing the moves. And so you have all this kind of going on behind the scenes, and then to your point, you got to pay attention to the game, which is the most important thing. And so it's kind of a collective effort to make sure we have it all covered.
Is there a game? Is there a moment? Is there a player on this team who represents what you want to represent for the White Sox, the kind of play you want this team to take to the field every day? Was there a game, a moment, or a player?
I think that there's a lot of each of those, and really starting with the players. You look at the kind of guys we have. Starting with Shane Smith being a Rule 5 guy, Mike Vassell being a Rule 5 guy. Some of our veteran guys, Martin Perez, guy who has been around and still proving that he can be a productive, person in this league. What Colson had to go through, and being in AAA, getting sent to Arizona, reestablishing himself and coming back up here. I think each one of these guys has a story that I identify with, kind of like the underdog mentality, and guys who have grinded and have gone out there and competed and just really fought to achieve what they want to achieve. And for me, they all embody that in some way, and it's great because that's kind of where I feel like I'm at in my mentality. And for us to go out there and kind of collectively go on this pursuit together with that mentality has been great.
Losses affect people in different ways. How have the losses affected you as a manager? Are some losses tougher than others?
They're all tough. Some are tougher than others. I think at the end of the day, knowing we go into these games and we want to be prepared, we want to execute what we want to execute and go out there and continue to compete. And you can do that in baseball and come up short. And that doesn't make losses feel any better. But we understand that's part of the game. Each loss is tough in its own way. That's what we're here to do, is win games. And when you don't get the result you want, it can be tough.
How long do they stay with you, each loss?
There's been a couple that, I've lost sleep over, especially some, where we, maybe didn't have the best chance going in and we found a way and just came up short. You can think about a game in LA against the Dodgers, one of the Yankees games, where we just played well and just weren't able to get there. And those stick with you. But really, to be honest, the way that our guys come to the ballpark the next day, they've turned the page. They're excited and motivated to go out there and get the job done today. It makes it easier for us and our staff to follow suit and just do everything we can to stay focused on today. So
it's just a number, but 100 losses could have happened again. Would it mean something for you to avoid that number this season?
Yeah, that would be significant. At the same time as we've gone into this and talked about our measures for success, and we know that wins and losses matter, and of course they do. But I've never spoken directly to the team about our record or a number of wins or losses as a goal. For us, finishing strong, we detailed the things that we want to go out and do on a daily basis, and those will be kind of our measures of success.
So where is this team now in your estimation versus opening day?
Well, I think certainly, as we've gone through this season, just roster-wise, 𝗬𝗎cie and the group have done a great job, whether through player development or through, external acquisitions that we've really raised the floor of our player roster and talent, which we're really excited about. And we've also come a long way with the kind of things we've established internally with our culture, the expectations, the way these guys hold each other accountable to their effort on the field and the plays that we make. And so we've built a lot that we're really proud of, while also acknowledging we got a long way to go.
I want to follow up on two things. One is holding guys accountable. How is that happening in there?
Yeah, well, first of all, the players do it amongst themselves, and, I think the first thing is, and as we've gone through this year, we've gotten a lot of clarity on what exactly we're expecting of these guys. And there was, communication up front, but as we've gone through the year, I think it's become more clear. And so when those things don't happen, the first thing that you'll see is the players talk to each other. And that's, again, a dream come true for a manager where I don't have to, be rah-rah and have some of these tougher conversations with players. They're handling it themselves. So it's been great to see.
And you say there's a long way to go. I mean, you look at the record, of course, there's a long way to go. What needs to improve, would you say, next season for you guys to take that next step and get closer to where you want to be?
I think that there's a lot of different ways. Certainly we just say on the most fundamental components of the game, just playing hard and running hard, that's a big box to check, and I think that we're check that box, and still some areas where we can improve. I think you look at the competitive spirit of the team and wanting a group that goes out there and plays every single day. I feel really good about checking that box, and then you have to go out and you have to execute plays, and there's still some areas where we need to get better in some of our defensive execution, base running execution. So we're making progress on some of the big boxes to check, but still some areas where we need to work.
The quickest fix to make your record better, and it's so easy to say this, tougher to do it, the one-run losses. Like, how do you fix that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you look at this year, and it's been historically bad in one-run games, but we've gotten there in different ways. And certainly in the beginning of the year, we were just coming up short, and we'd see late mistakes that ended up costing us in these close games. And then in the middle of the season, we started figuring out how to execute those plays. And towards the end of the season, we've seen us not just execute those plays, but have that extra run, score that extra run, make that extra play, make that extra pitch to win those games, and kind of change how we've gone through those close games. So overall it's been left some opportunity there for us, but it's been better, and to be good in those games, you just got to continue to fight and make those plays.
You feel like you have found your managing voice?
I think that is it's changing every day, and I think that certainly it's different now than it was in the beginning of the season, and over that time has changed, and I think that's part of my learning and growing is just understanding that voice needs to change at times, and how it needs to change and when it needs to change are something that I'm constantly trying to figure out and make sure that I'm making the best impact I can.
Yeah. It's a couple more questions. It sounds like this whole season totally turned after the All-Star break with the hitting. Would you agree with that? You had a speech. I don't know if it was a speech, but you can maybe it was a speech. Can you kind of take us inside what that was like? Because you had a message that you wanted to convey, maybe a little more forcefully after the All-Star break, and that kind of got things going. That's from where I sit. Maybe you can fill in the blanks from there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think our offense has done a great job all year in being intentional about what we want to do, and certainly, if you look at last year and some of the performance on the fastball coming into this year, and then through the beginning of the season, that was something that we really wanted to attack, and we were transparent about that from day one. And then I think over the All-Star break, I think between myself and the staff, we just all agreed that we just needed to change the tone a little bit and be more aggressive and ask for more from these guys, and they were on board, and once they got that message, they were the ones that made the changes and committed to the things that they needed to do to kind of change what they were doing against fastballs, and really collectively committed to it and did a nice job. So again, we do our best as a staff to kind of give these guys guardrails and send them down the right path, and then they go to work and make it happen.
This team's loaded with rookies, and I mean, I don't recall seeing a team in baseball, I could be wrong, but I don't recall seeing a team with this many rookies, and I think all of them succeeding at the major league level. Have you seen or experienced anything like this before?
No, I haven't. And when I got called up to the big leagues, I was on a similar team with a bunch of young guys, and we certainly weren't performing like these guys. And I think, you go number one to the kind of guys they are, and 𝗵𝗍 and the group doing a great job of selecting high character guys that can make this kind of transition, and certainly they're talented. And we also have a really good group of veteran guys who have helped these young guys come along. I think that should not go unnoticed too. And at the end of the day, these guys are special young guys that are really good players and really good guys, and I'm not surprised that they're having success.
And what excites you about the future?
These young guys and our players and their competitive spirit, the way that our fans show up, there's for where our record's at, the buzz that we have, amongst the players, amongst the fans, is really special. It's something that we want to build on and grow on, and we know we have a lot of work to do, but we're excited about where we're going.
All right. Will Venable, thanks. I appreciate your time.
You got it. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. That's a wrap for this edition of the White Sox Podcast. 𝗏𝗏 𝗟𝗏, take it away.
All right, Chuck, this edition of the White Sox Podcast is over.